is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We're at episode number 64. Asif and I are actually recording this live on Saturday night, February 11th. It's like some ungodly hour again. I don't know what it is. Last week we were at 7 a.m. Today it's 10 p.m. Asif, what are we doing?
I don't know. We got to get better lives, I think. And yeah.
Saturday night, 10 p.m. And what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing? Yeah.
Oh,
what are we
God.
doing? Exactly.
Well,
Anyhow.
My name is Rob Woodbridge. I am from Untethered.tv, and that seems to be my personal and professional life right there, Untethered.tv. You can find a whole bunch of great interviews and a whole bunch of shows and insight, lots of writing at Untethered.tv. Follow me on Twitter at Rob Woodbridge. You'll get all that information fed to you, or even sign up for an email list on the website. I don't care. So much great information, you got to be there, Untethered.tv. And with me always from the heart of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Well, anyways, Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association, Toronto, Canada, home of the very poorly performing Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. They got blown out by the Montreal Canadiens. But anyhow,
yes,
I digress. There's a lot to talk about, and you can find the LBMA at thelbma.com or at the LBMA on Twitter. And you can find me at Asif R. Khan on Twitter as well. So there you go.
Well, you know what? We have to take a pause from the location-based marketing world for 1 second, because you're probably at this very moment, it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, or 20 after 10 on a Saturday night, you have just heard that, in fact, one of the legends in pop music from the 80s, and Whitney Houston was found dead in Los Angeles. This is not an entertainment show. We don't pretend to be an entertainment show, but I'm of the age where I remember when Whitney Houston was pristine and pure and of great voice and an incredible talent. Many people of this generation do not remember her of that, but this is one of those things that it's a pop culture, it's a pop icon. You know, the same kind of vintage as Michael Jackson. Lost him a couple of years ago. Whitney Houston.
Both you and I grew up. You know, we're children of the '80s. Let's just say, and Whitney Houston was certainly one of the icons of the era back then. Amazing voice, and it's 48 years old. What can you say?
Terrible.
Gone.
Terrible. Yeah. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. I don't know. She hasn't been very relevant over the last 15 or 20 years. But still, it's a pretty significant thing that happened today, obviously. By the time you're listening to this on Monday morning, that would have been old news. We would have found out exactly the cause of death. So, anyways, before anything of that happens, all that crap happens, we just, it's too bad. Sad. So sad. Yeah. All right. I don't even know how to segue over. I just don't even know how. But this is two tragedies, Asif, that you and I have been filming during. The first one was when Clarence Clemens died. The second one is Whitney Houston. I don't like this trend. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
Things happen on the weekend. Right?
It's not a good one. But anyhow.
All right, so big week. First of all, you are heading off. By the time people are listening to this, you will be in Amsterdam because of this event that we're actually doing together on Wednesday. But you're going in Amsterdam first. There's a LBMA event in Amsterdam. Want to push those two things before we get into this?
Well, actually, I should clarify that. So the Amsterdam event has been postponed to March.
Okay.
And so that's not happening, although I am still there meeting with a whole bunch of our members and companies who are based there. And then on Wednesday, the event you're alluding to in London and in Toronto, we're running a simulcast event looking at location-based marketing in sports. And so if you're in either of those two cities, just go to our website at www.thelbma.com and you'll see the information there. It's there. You can still sign up. It's a free event in both cases. It's part of Social Media Week. And it's going to be, I think, a great discussion and, just an interesting angle on how to apply all this stuff to sports marketing. So,
yeah, I think it's great, especially the success that Shazam had over the Super Bowl weekend. This should be a very interesting and very topical session across the border. So we're talking about the Olympic Games and the Pan Am Games, aren't we?
That's correct, yeah. So there's speakers that can directly address both. We've got agency folks who who come from that world. I know on the London side, there's a bunch of folks from IMG, the largest sports marketing agency, that are going to be attending. People from the FA over in Europe as well are going to be there. So there's people on all sides, brands, as well as sports marketers. So
I'm looking forward to it. So if you're in Toronto or you're in London, come on out. Come and visit.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there live in Toronto. Asif will be there live in London. Come on. What other reason do you need?
And we want to meet you in person. So
exactly. Don't just stalk. Don't just listen. Don't just watch. Come and meet us. I'd love to meet you and identify yourself.
Yeah.
And I had a great experience with our guest of the week. Who's running a company called Syzzle. This is Scott Rankine, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I listened to you guys, you and Asif, a year ago when we started this, and he said it was a great way for him to understand how to position his company, understand how to position where what business he should be in, and what's going on in the industry. So that kind of stuff comes from this. And when I was talking to him, I thought, wow, how great is that? Like that's the reason we do this, which is to bring that kind of information to people. And
for sure. And just before we jump into the stories, I want to thank Maponics for their sponsorship for the last number of weeks, and and now obviously we want to welcome Syzzle on board for the rest of February as our new sponsor for this month, and so glad to have them on board. We're many more yet to come for the rest of the year. So. Yeah. Really appreciate the support.
Yeah, Maponics was great. And you know what? There's still time. You can still get this 90-day trial. Go to maponics.com/location, right? We can still do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so big week that was. Certainly some monumental news. But we're going to be talking about Boingo, a little bit of Loc-Aid, which is Toronto-based. We're going to be talking about some Facebook news, simply around how they're going to actually turn their mobile world into revenue. We've got some funding news, a couple of acquisitions, and also a great resource from Street Fight. It's a research report that they did on local merchants. We got all that starting right now. I wish I had music behind, like CNN music. First story is about BP, South Africa, BP, using location-based services to do what?
To engage folks, drive traffic, advertising, click-throughs, and ultimately, get people into locations.
So this is with Navteq. Location point advertising.
Yeah, so the company, there's a couple companies that came together to put this campaign. So a company called BPS, Business Positioning Systems.
Not to be confused with their client, British Petroleum.
Exactly.
Which is
British
BP.
Petroleum. Yeah. So BPS worked with two agencies, Ogilvy Interactive, as well as a mobile ad agency, and I love the name of this agency, 7 Different Kinds of Smoke. We're talking about South Africa, and I really wanted to bring this forward today because we talk a lot about Europe and Asia and obviously North America, and location-based marketing happens everywhere, and this is a great little case point from British Petroleum in South Africa, working with Navteq and their location point, sort of ad network system. This is not unlike any of the other campaigns that we talk about. This is click to call, driving traffic and mapping data connected to ads, inside of the Navteq framework. But the numbers were kind of surprising to me. So they basically have 540 BP locations, gas stations, effectively. Campaign was called "Get Pumped Up for Summer," and when I looked at the click-throughs and the numbers, I was quite impressed. So they basically had almost just over 400,000 impressions on this campaign that they ran. Click-through rate of almost 3%. And something like 11,500 users that basically played around with this and engaged with it. So pretty good traffic numbers. So good that they've renewed their sort of contract and are running another campaign again. And it just talks to the fact this stuff is getting more and more mainstream. every week. You know, and I think you know, Navteq is one of those guys, one of those platforms that's adapted well, you know, into the new world of location and understanding how they can be an ad network too.
Yeah, so this was like a little bit expanding on those numbers. I reading from the same article, but it said that you know, 40% of the people who actually clicked on the initial ad request, like it was basically a click to find, right? So these ads were click to find. So find the closest BP station, and it said that the 40% of the people who clicked requested mapping information to the nearest BP, showing that kind of the influence that it had. So it had a high click-through rate, it had a high engagement rate, and click-through rate, and then it had a high engagement rate. 40% of that 2.84% click-through actually were clicking into converting into customers, which is very high. So that's what, 5,000 customers.
Yeah, and I'll say that, you know, I don't think the offer was, you know, all that strong in terms of what you had to do or what they were trying to get you to do, you know, to engage with this thing. Basically, it was, as I said, the campaign is called Get Pumped Up for Summer. You know, it was a little competition thing. You would get a sticker, you know, from certain of the locations that you can display on your vehicle, like a bumper sticker, effectively, you know, by engaging with this thing. Or you can enter via USSD, and then so basically, if you spotted somebody who had the sticker and you sort of acknowledged that, then you were entered in a contest to win a you know, a Volkswagen Golf GTI.
Yeah, that's a terrible prize.
Prizes that were going on, but I mean, you're basically just entering a contest, right, with a chance to win. It's not like they were just like firing out, you know, everybody who did this got, you know, free movie passes or whatever. So, you know, but so given what the offer was, given what the pricing was, you know, I think the engagement was excellent. Yeah,
and you got to think about this, is that maybe this is on purpose so that it limited the number of people that it appealed to, but it was only for OV-enabled Nokia devices, right? So OV maps, and that was it, right? So it was just Nokia. Yeah, this is good. I mean, it's interesting to see BP kind of drive that. You don't think about anything about, especially gas stations, as anything other than which is cheaper, right? Ultimately, what it comes down to, and they're all positioned on, you know, all the four corners of every street. So it's always about the price, and maybe this is a different way, a differentiator.
Sure, and you know, this isn't the first for BP. We've talked about BP a few times on this show over the last year and a bit, and you know, they're one of those brands that gets it and understands, you know, how to use mobile and location to drive traffic to their retail, you know, location. So
I like it.
I like it. Yeah.
Well, I like that they're trying, and it shows you that because I don't see this happening in Canada with our national providers like Shell or Esso. I don't see any of this kind of stuff. So I like that. I like that it's not only is it South African. I like the fact that it's BP. I like it's a big company, and these guys are not just trying one thing. They're doing a whole bunch of these things. So that's great. So BP partners with Navteq in South Africa and drives activity for Nokia and OV Maps. I like that as well. All right, story number 2. This shouldn't take very long. Boingo, this is the Wi-Fi provider, which is everywhere. Partners with the Westfield Group, which is like a chain of malls.
Yeah, shopping mall owner operator. 17 shopping centers is you know, the sort of span of this deal, and you know, I think I'll say one good thing about it, and that is, you know, I think every shopping mall should just have Wi-Fi in it, and you know, so good for Boingo, you know, waking up and saying, yeah, let's do some Wi-Fi in the malls because, you know, airports aren't enough. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm not really satisfied as a consumer with this, and especially as a guy who, you know, is in location-based marketing, you know, every day, all day. That's all I do. You know. So what? So now the consumer walks in and they've got free Wi-Fi. Great, but you know, does that help me navigate the mall? Does that, you know, integrate with deal platforms? You know, what is it doing? It's not doing anything. And they say it's, you know, it's coming in the future, but you know, this stuff's out there. You could have gone and partnered with somebody and put a platform together and just make it happen. I don't get it. So
yeah, you know, I don't get it either, but maybe this is the first step as they enable you know, you need this as a base tool to enable everything else that comes from it. But it's certainly not worthy of an announcement. It's Boingo. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So, anyways,
so Boingo is with the Westfield Group, necessary. But boy, like I mean, I thought we were over the Wi-Fi announcements, you know, 3 years ago.
I mean, Boingo's got a great relationship with Jywire. Jywire's got a great arsenal of location-based mobile ad services. Yeah. Just go and partner with them and roll out a joint offering if that's what you're doing, because I don't get this on its own.
Well, we'll see what happens. We should follow that. Put that in the kind of follow category about what happens with the West. If we start to hear some news about Westfield, the Westfield Group kind of moving into something else. But again, yeah, Wi-Fi is okay, but it's not the compelling offer that it once was. And you know what? Quite frankly, I freaking hate paying for Boingo at the airport. I hate it. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Third story. This is interesting because I think we're going to start to see more and more of these kinds of companies, right? This is Duo Factor launching a location-based authentication system, and I think that this is an industry, or a portion of this industry that will start to accelerate. First, let's talk about what Duo Factor does and is.
Yeah, so this is an authentication system to basically verify that you are who you say you are. It's called Duo Factor because it's a two-factor authentication solution. And this is actually a Toronto-based company. Just discovered them this week. And so effectively what this is for small, medium-sized businesses, trying to manage, their users' online profiles. And prevent hacking and people phishing and taking over accounts and things like that. And so what happens is the mobile app basically combines a token, a security token that's randomly generated with the geographic position of the user, and within a zone, like a geofence, like our good friends at Maponics do. Basically what happens is the user can say, well, that particular geofence, that's a regular geofence for me. I'm often in that area around my home or around this work area or whatever it is. That married up with a security token says that this is me when my phone is connected to your service. So it's an interesting approach, and a little technical to get into, but I wanted to bring it forward and say, if you're building services, if you're doing e-commerce, if you're a small medium business, and you're not working with the major players in the industry around security, and you can't afford to, this might be a viable option to make sure you've got something.
Well, I mean, I think that this is we're going to see many more companies move into this space about. Yeah. Tagging your location and enabling or disabling devices, payment systems, all of those kind of things, because you have that other layer now because of the mobility factor. And what I like about this is something like, further down the road, when you start to think about real payments and enabling real payments through these devices, so they can be location-based payments, but it might scare people when I say that. Like, you walk within a proximity of something and it authenticates who you are, right. And it does everything automatically. We've talked about this quite often. Is that when I walk into Starbucks, I wanted to basically credit my checking account without checking in. I wanted to credit my my rewards or perks card, all that kind of stuff. Do it in an automatic fashion, but it will also allow us to authenticate the fact that it is in fact you, or disable the payment systems because it isn't you. Your phone's been stolen. Right. Because we're going to get into that layer, and it's going to get ugly at some point. Sure. But I like this kind of play because it really does help us secure these systems, these devices that are free range. And
in some respects, it's not unlike our next story, as well. I mean, I think you could argue that what Loc-Aid's doing, fits right in there in terms of being able to be used as an authentication vehicle as well. So
it is, but you start to think about the potential here. Is that so? I just got back. I was in Windsor last week, Windsor, Ontario, which is right across from Detroit. And I was on the plane, and I was waiting, and this woman, like, it was in a panic, said, "Oh my God, I left my phone!" So they're like, "Stop, stop, stop!" And before they closed the gate, they let her run out and get her phone. And I thought, you know what? That could have been a catastrophe, right? Like, you used to not think about that. you'd run out for your wallet. But when you think about where we're going with the payment system, something like dual factor authentication, or dual factor authentication, and dualfactor.com, or even what Loc-Aid is doing, is going to be so important, because we have to secure these devices, and we have to understand how to find these devices. And then our fourth story, Loc-Aid, you have to be able to find the people that are carrying these devices.
Exactly.
Let's talk about those guys.
Yeah, so they've got a service called life360.com. This is Loc-Aid. Basically the premise of this is that, if you know somebody's cell phone number, you can find out where they are, just simply through a website, life360.com. And I like it because it's simple in the way it works. It's got basic, permission built into it. So effectively, the way this thing works is, let's say you're a parent and you want to know where your teenager is. You can just go to the life360.com website, punch in their cellular number for that teenager, and it'll tell you exactly where that phone is. Now, the teenager has to agree to it, or the other person has to agree to it. And so the way it works is that the requester of who's requesting the location of the other person has to punch in their own birthday, and they do that for purposes of making sure that it's not minors that are using the service, and then the person on the other side, the teen in my example, has to actually reply via SMS acknowledging that they agree to this. So it's sort of like, again, it's a dual factor play there. But it's simple, and I know lots of parents who are using location-based services today with their own kids, and that's just part of the deal. Look, they say to their kid, like, if you want a phone, that's great, you can have a phone, but if I request to find out where you are, you better, that's allowed, and that's just part of the deal of having a phone. So, I like this, and it's really simple. And so, these guys work with T-Mobile and Sprint and all the guys in the U.S. To figure out where those devices are. But a great, simple service.
Yeah, and you're right. Is that but again, when you start to think about the impact of all of this, is that this is digital babysitting, which is incredible.
Yeah,
I love this idea, but I'm pretty sure the kids don't as much as their parents do.
Right.
Yeah, so it's going to be, like, as you said, a stipulation.
Kids do too, in terms of knowing where their friends are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Life360, that's go to Life360, life360.com. It's a product by Loc-Aid. And this is active
US
now.
Only. US only at the moment.
Yeah. US only at the moment. Interesting. And if you've got some thoughts on that, reach out at untethered@gmail.com or asif@the-LBMA, because I'd like to know if you would do this. Maybe that's a good way to do this. Would you do this to your kids? Would your kids accept this in return for the use of a cell phone or a smartphone? I wonder.
You know what? We'll put it up as a poll question on the LBMA's polls on our site. So go to thelbma.com as of when you see this podcast on Monday, and we'll have that up as a little poll, and just answer that question, yes or no. Appreciate it.
And if you happen to be a teenager, which I'm pretty sure our demographic skews to the teenagers, right, Asif? Right?
Of course. Yeah,
of course. If you're a teenager, would you? I wonder if this is one of those things that is going to force the digital savvy teenager to say, no, I don't really want a phone, Mom, Dad. I'm going to stay off. I'm going to stay off, basically off the grid. I wonder. I wonder if it's going to influence it. Fifth story, we always save the big companies for last, and this is Facebook signing a deal with Bango, not to be confused with Boingo. Bango
or
in the
Banjo.
UK. What?
Or Banjo.
I don't know. Is it Banjo?
Yeah. No, there's another one called Banjo.
Oh, yeah, Banjo is another one. Yeah, exactly.
This is Bango.
This is Bango, Bango, Bango out of the UK. These guys are a mobile payments company And they've had some great experience working with, obviously there's massive interest in Facebook. They're going public. They've listed their revenue as $3.7 billion. The biggest weakness, we talked about this last week, was the fact that they have not monetized the mobile side of it, whether that's advertisements or they have 425 million users that access the Facebook through a mobile device. And the pressure is going to be on for Facebook to monetize this. And so they signed this deal with Bango, which is a mobile commerce play. And these guys do mobile commerce for RIM and a bunch of other guys. So what's the state of this deal? Why do this?
Well, I don't think we know yet is the short answer. I think this is really early on. This is one of those little things that nobody really knew about, but it came out in the filings for the IPO, along with a bunch of other things. But yeah, I mean, as we said last week, they haven't done much on the mobile side in terms of monetization. A lot of the talk in the last week has been, they're going to be releasing an ad platform into the mobile framework that they have today. So if you're a mobile user of Facebook, expect ads in the next little while. And along with those ads is the ability to make purchases. I think related to that. Obviously, if you see an ad for something that can be purchased with Facebook credit or can be purchased in other ways, they need a vehicle to do that, and so perhaps that's where Bango fits in. And they, as you said, Bango's been doing this for a while. They've been, part of the RIM commerce platform. So they've got lots of experience, and so this is an interesting deal, I think.
It is, and what they were talking about. I think they've looked at Facebook has looked at how Twitter turned revenue on, because Twitter for the longest time, was criticized for not moving quickly through commerce and or what's their business model, and so they thought about this. Biz and his team thought about this very, very closely about how they're going to insert ads into the Twitter stream, and they did these sponsored links, and by all accounts, the reception was much better than just blatant ads. And I think that there's rumors floating around that Facebook is going to move into this sponsored posts in your stream on the mobile device. And you can see how Bango can enable the commerce on that side of it. But it's a fine line, because you got to ask: is the mobile device and the mobile experience an enabler for other services on the desktop, an enabler for a rich experience on the mobile device to drive, drive activity on the site, to drive mobile or drive ads on the desktop? Because if you try to throw too many ads up on this software on the mobile side, and it's too creepy because it knows too much about you, is that going to turn people off? And I think that's what they're struggling with right now. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'd love to have that problem with 425 million users, 800 million users worldwide, trying to turn $1 of revenue on for each one of those guys, or $10 of revenue each, or $20. How do you turn each one of those users into $20 in revenue? Like, what a fun challenge to have. Because even if they hit 425 million mobile users, and even if they piss off half of them, you still got 250 million people using your product.
Oh, I know. I mean, they just need to make $1 from each one.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
And they'll be doing well. Sorry.
Anyway, it's like the possibilities are endless, but I think with a guy like Zuckerberg, and we've known this from the get-go, is that he's a guy that didn't want to turn revenue on. He wanted to create a user experience and build out the user base and grow and grow and grow without turning the revenue on.
He's got to now.
Well, this is interesting, because that friction is about to rear its head, right? Can he make that transition? But quite frankly, does he really have to? He's going to be worth $40 billion as soon as this company goes public. Anyway, so Facebook signs a deal with Bango. Those are the 5 stories. We got some great news out of South Africa with BP partnering with Navteq and Nokia and Ovi Maps. Boingo launching Wi-Fi in Westfield Group with the Westfield Group. Dual Factor launching their location-based authentication system. Loc-Aid with their Life 360. Babysitting, digital babysitting for your kids, and Facebook signs a deal with Bango. Great variety, international stories across the pond, down in South Africa. That's the greatest thing about what we're doing here, is that it's not contained to North America. Beautiful. All right. So I had a great opportunity to sit down with another Toronto company you know very effective, you know very well, which is Syzzle. They've come on to sponsor us in February, but I got to sit down with Scott Rankine to talk about this product that hasn't launched yet. And here's Scott. It's time for our guest of the week. This week, so excited because two reasons. One, it's a neat idea. Two, Canadian company based out of Toronto. I'm sitting here with Scott Rankine, who's the co-founder of year-old startup 10-4 Labs in Toronto, and obviously offices in the Valley for absolute reason. They need offices in the Valley. We're not here to talk about 10-4. We're here to talk about a new product that they're launching called Syzzle. But first, welcome, Scott. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate having you here.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having us. Definitely.
Okay, so talk about, before we get to Syzzle, 10-4 Labs. Let's talk about what you guys do there.
We're a mobile app developer, cross-platform. We focus on a space that's called social entertainment discovery.
So describe that. What is social entertainment discovery?
It's really if you are getting together with people to go out at night or during the daytime, and you want to find something to do. It's a discovery process. It's a sharing process, and that's why we call it social entertainment discovery.
Very cool. So you are going to launch, or you're about to launch a new product called Syzzle. What is this product?
Well, what Syzzle does actually is it shows you very graphically, very instantly, all the hot stuff that's around you in terms of live entertainment, events, what's going on at the clubs, what's happening at the movie theaters. It's a hyper-local app. It really tells you at a glance what's happening. And it makes it easy for you to share it with your friends and to get together with them and meet up with them. So it's really about...
Is it really hyper-local? Like, is it city-wide, neighborhood-wide, or is it just a matter of how much content is in there? Where do you get the data from?
We get data from various sources. From Songkick is for live events. We get movie trailers and movie ticketing facilities from Westfield Media. So it really works anywhere in North America. In fact, for the live music, it'll work pretty much anywhere in the world. We also mash up data from Google, other sources. So it's really a tool that helps you discover really all the hot stuff that's happening around you. And it's very focused on today, tomorrow, and this weekend. It's not a planning tool, but it really is a discovery tool and a social gathering tool, you might say.
And so when are you going to launch this?
Actually, we've been invited down to South by Southwest at an event called North of 41. It's a showcase event, so we're one of the showcase apps. It's very nice to get an invite. So that's become our launch kickoff event. We'll also be doing things in the Valley. We'll be doing things back in Toronto at the Music Fest at the end of March. So March is really our launch month, and we've been working in stealth because we've been working on this product for about a year now, and we've been testing different components as we've gone along.
All right, so you've been working on this for about a year. What was it? What was it that pushed you in that direction? You're a dev shop doing work for third party, obviously for other companies. What was it that made you land on something like Syzzle, and then a year ago you decided to actually get into the product space?
Personally, I've always liked doing startups, and I always look for things that are disruptive. Yeah. One of the things that occurred to us is that it was very hard to find out what's really hot and happening right now and to share it with other people easily without having to jump between multiple apps. So we decided to make an experience for you and your friends that's very immediate, very visual, very intuitive, and highly social.
And was there anything out there in the market there so nothing out there really satisfied that?
There are apps for movies, there are apps for music, there are kinds of apps that help you find parking spots, but we didn't find an app that really wrapped that immediate social opportunity and what you need to do to get people together. It's like herding cats. And really what it is you have to, first of all, know what's happening, and that's most people decide very quickly, especially people who are into a mobile entertainment lifestyle. And really the question is usually, what do you want to do? Okay, what's going on? Where are you, and where do we meet up?
Right.
So that kind of question happens to me. It happens to people I know many times a week, especially towards the weekend. People say, okay, are there any good live bands in Toronto? Are there any good live bands in New York going on? San Francisco, Austin, London? But are there any movies playing? And oh, by the way, where are all the best DJs? And where's the nearest Starbucks? So we really looked at what we call a social entertainment app that focuses really on live entertainment, live events, and also we've bundled that with instant hot deals too. So really it's sort of everything you need to get together with friends to have a good time. And the focus is really today, tomorrow, and the weekend.
Yeah, I like that focus because it oftentimes don't tell me that Madonna's going to be here in November because it doesn't help right now, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't really have much sizzle because sizzle is really what's happening now.
Yeah.
And, really what's happening 3 months from now is a planning exercise, and that's not what we do. It's impulse. You want to know, people usually, if you've ever been, everyone's had this situation where you're sitting around and they go, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Then the question is what's playing, what's happening, and then you have to go explore, and then you got to figure stuff out. So we make that easy for you. That's kind of our space.
So is the hope to help venues drive foot traffic? I mean, what do you hope happens when you launch this product and people start to use it?
We hope they like it a lot, and they'll like it because it has a very visual user experience. Everyone who's seen it said it's quite different, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it focuses on really putting you in the position of being the person who knows what's going on, becoming the alpha person. So you know at a glance all the music that's happening in the city, where all the movies are playing, all the best things are going on. And you can share that with your friends with a click. You can put it on Facebook, Twitter. So it becomes a very social gathering kind of a tool. And the way that we take that farther is we do things like if you're seeing a band you like, and you can buy iTunes track instantly, buy tickets, you can buy, if there's a deal that makes sense, because really you're in that kind of situation, you're not interested in deals about vacations and cruises. You want deals about meals and things you can get that are relevant. So it's all about hyper-local relevancy, and it focuses on entertainment.
And are you thinking about a monetization strategy with this yet, or is it just something that you want to get the user base and get them loving the UI?
It's a bit of both, because we built the business model from day one into the structure, which is every time that you go on and you want to look for a live event, that's an opportunity for us to tell the system that you want to buy a ticket, perhaps, or you want to buy an offer that's just around the corner. Maybe there could be a discount meal, whatever. So it's about wrapping it in relevancy and making it context sensitive. And of course, if you're interested in certain things, over time we'll begin to understand them through metrics analysis.
I love that. I love it. So it's not available right now, but maybe you're looking at this, you're watching this in the future. How do people find out more information? And for those people who are watching it in real time, almost, how where do we send them?
Send them to the beta site, which is Syzzle. It's SYZZLE.me. Go to Syzzle Me and sign up for the beta, and welcome aboard. We'll be happy to get your input, and more than happy to let you know when the product's live, and it'll be out in force in March for sure.
I can't wait. Scott, Canadian company, love the fact. We'll promote the heck out of Canadian companies because there's a lot of innovation going on. Major cities like Ottawa, like Toronto, and Vancouver. Thank you so much for being our guest this week. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We've been speaking with Scott Rankine, who is the co-founder and co-founder of 10-4 Labs. Their new product, Syzzle, is coming out in March. Check out syzzle.me, 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 or ZZ, depending on where you are. Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
And that was Scott Rankine, the co-founder of 10-4 Labs. 10-4 Labs is a Toronto-based company. They have offices in the Valley. They're the creators of Syzzle, the product Syzzle. Go to syzzle.me to actually sign up for the beta, as I said, and look for this launch around South by Southwest time. Right, Asif?
Absolutely, yeah.
I love the fact that this is a Canadian company. We featured a couple of them in this episode, so got my Canada shirt on.
Yeah.
Jumping into the funding, we've got one funding story. We'll lead that off with this company Dwolla raising $5 million in their Series B with some heavy hitters. They've had some great investments, but a small company doing massive dollars in the mobile payments space.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, it's 5 million, so it's not a massive amount of money. Small company, Series B for them, but it's the players, I think, that are going to make this thing really go. I mean, you got Union Square Ventures, you got Thrive Capital, you know, just an A list of players here. You know, Albert Wegner is on the board from Union Square Ventures, so. You know, this thing, when you got heavy hitters like that are sitting around the table, you know, they're going to make this thing move. And so, you know, Dwolla is a company that I think it's interesting. We were talking earlier about mobile payments, and, you know, I think this is, you know, 2013 is one of those years next year when we're going to see an explosion of mobile payments. This year we're going to see a lot of testing and a lot of experimentation and a lot of you know, new platforms emerge like Dwolla. You know, I think next year is the year when you know, we're all going to be doing it. We're all going to be paying on our phones for something in some form, whether it's PayPal or this or NFC or what have you. But you know, I expect we're going to be talking a lot this year about companies raising money for mobile payments platforms.
Yeah. And you know, when you look at this, and Mark Echo got into this as well. So, you know, and this is a disruptive company because it's not encumbered, right, by the legacy transaction system that the banks are and everything like that. It's also, but they're doing some serious money that in transactions with a small team, 20 people driving. I mean, what was the number? I was just trying to find, like 20 to 30 or 40 million dollars a month through through Dwolla. It's in that range, and that's pretty impressive. So
not bad, but you know, Square's doing it too. So
yeah, Square's doing that every day, aren't they?
What's that?
Square's doing something like that every day.
Yeah,
it's crazy what Square's doing, but you know what? I'm still kind of enthusiastic by these ones, these companies, these little companies that are just pushing a little bit different. I mean, Square's interesting because, you know, Square's very interesting because of the way that they've gone about selling to the companies that didn't qualify for merchant accounts, and I like that a lot. But this is a true peer-to-peer, business-to-business, consumer-to-consumer, consumer-to-business play.
The problem I have with it, though, Rob, is I think that payments on its own isn't going to be enough. It's got to be married up with, you know, the other pieces of the mobile wallet strategy, right? You know, the loyalty piece, the security piece, the authentication pieces, you know, all of that kind of sort of have to come together. And that's where things like Google Wallet and you know, some of the other wallets that we're going to see out there emerge. You know, and you know, we've talked about eBay a lot. You know, I think Dwolla is going to be successful if they, you know, can align themselves and partner with the right guys, and they've got the right board to make that happen. So,
well, okay, yeah, and while we're talking about that, it's like Dwolla is positioning itself to be bought, right? That's what these guys are. Like, you got to think that these kind of heavy hitters aren't in here for a long haul. They don't want to create another Visa. They want to be bought by Visa. And I think that if you start to look at the playing field here, as we've always said this, the carriers are the ultimate gateway to the customers, and closing with the carriers is very important. But you've got something like Facebook, and if Facebook can get this mobile payments, mobile commerce piece right, they're going to be one of the biggest players, obviously, in this, because they're going to enable Facebook credits as a currency through their system, and it's going to be massive, especially with 400 million people in the mobile space, 800 million users.
So good friends over at Amazon.
Same thing, right? And so you're going to start to see these big companies, like the big 8, that are going to own this market, and the credit cards are going to be the enablement of that. Right. But there are going to be, you know, no more than 8 companies that are in this space that are driving serious transactions. And Dwolla is not going to be one of those companies, but they may be acquired by one of those companies. Yep. And that's why you look at these players and you think, it's been a $6 million investment over 2 years. Small amount of money for the amount of transactions that they're driving. This is going to be a valuable company at some point to somebody who needs to get into the local market like that.
Sure.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Dwolla,
$5 million. Second story is Groupon buys a company called Adku.
Yes.
Right? Talk about this. Like, so we know who Groupon is, but what's Adku?
Well, Adku is an interesting story. So the rumors on this is that they got about $10 million for this deal. That's what TechCrunch is suggesting. from what I've been able to read. And so this is an e-commerce company, Adku, that basically is about optimizing, a shopping experience for the consumer when you're on an e-commerce site. And so they've been doing this on sites like Zappos and Amazon and eBay and places like that. So and doing quite well. This is Adku, and so I'm not quite sure where this goes yet. I think you got Groupon, that's a daily deal company primarily. It has some location elements to it, doing some crazy stuff that we don't understand with kiosks that we talked about the other week. Marrying up with an e-commerce network play. Yeah. I'm not convinced, but I'm not sitting in Groupon R&D either, so I don't know.
It's a small company too. Like, I thought this was much more of a talent acquisition.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? But it's, I mean, if it's $10 million, it's an expensive talent acquisition. But
yeah, exactly. So they must be doing some pretty good revenue on what the existing business has been doing on Zappos and eBay. So.
Well, I'll tell you that, or they're buying them to pull them from there. Who knows? It's a strategic that.
Well, it's a recommendation engine, really, is what how I see what Adku is. It's you're on these sites and they're pushing you recommendations of products and things that you might like, right? And so if Groupon can take that from a data mining perspective and use that to push you deals so that it's not everyone gets the same deal. In other words, you get the deal that's right for you, optimizing the experience or the deal experience from that perspective, then I can see some value there. Maybe that's the connection, and maybe it's not just an e-commerce thing. Again, it remains to be seen. But
who knows?
Combination.
But also Battery Ventures is into these guys, and this could be just a straight roll up. That they just said, hey, listen, we don't know what to do with you guys. Just Groupon buy them.
Yeah,
right? It just could be that.
Yeah.
But either way, I'd take it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Groupon buys Adku. The other deal is around is Klout. Klout acquiring this company called Blockboard, which is, again, Klout is an interesting play because I don't get it. I mean, I have a Klout score. You have a Klout score. I look at the Klout score and I think, all right, how does Klout turn that into revenue?
Yeah, I'm like you. I mean, I do check my Klout score every once in a while. I'm not sitting there every day looking at my Klout score. But maybe once a month or so, I'll check it out and see what's going on. When I think about it or remember, or when they send me an email saying, here's a Klout perk for you because your score is good or something. I don't know.
Look, I have a great Klout score. I'm not like come on. I have a great Klout score, but I don't check it every day. But I don't understand how these guys make money. So for them to kind of look at Blockboard maybe as a way to extend the Klout score into real life. Like, maybe is that what they're trying to do with this?
I think so. So Blockboard is this, it's a mobile app that basically is about connecting people to other people around them, in a sort of neighborhood community building type of thing. So in some respects, when I first started reading about Blockboard, I was thinking, the first thing that popped into my mind was like Zarly. Yeah. I was thinking that, like local, find stuff around you, understand your community, but it's not that. It's not like task-based. It's more of, recommendations and things like that. Like, and I didn't see a lot of value in it. I just didn't get it. So, but they describe it, and I found this kind of interesting. So they describe it as Blockboard, that is like Twitter. Where users can represent themselves however they want.
Okay.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. So basically you go on, like on Twitter, where you can basically create your profile and, have your Twitter handle and, have your description of whatever you want to describe yourself as, cat lover, whatever. and apparently that's what this is, but from a location perspective. So this is, you know, okay, I'm in this community, and here's my, you know, my fake identity, and let me use that to engage with other people. I don't quite get it, and I'm not sure how that fits with Klout either. I just don't get how that, you know. First of all, I don't understand Blockboard almost as much as I don't understand Klout. So now we get two companies coming together that just don't make any sense at all, because I don't know. I really don't get it. But anyhow, it's noteworthy because, you know, everybody knows who Klout is.
Yeah.
We just don't know how they make money.
Well, but you know how they make money? I mean, somehow they've raised $40 million, which is an insane amount of money.
Well, they're making some money from the perks program, right? Like these, you know, these brands go on and say, we're going to offer this product on there, and obviously they're paying to be on there. Yeah,
but it's like a daily deal site, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you on this. Is that, come on, you know, Klout is so much more, and if you believe a number, an arbitrary number that they put together and adjusted based on something like ridiculous, like how many Twitter posts you respond to, but it doesn't take into account the fact that you do, you know, 40 hours a week of volunteer service in your community, or you take in you know, foster children. You know, your Klout is not about your digital score. It's not a reputation builder from your digital score. I mean, if all I did all day was respond to Twitter posts, my Klout score would go up. Like, it just, but if you know, if I worked hard and created a company and built a company and grew it, so I employed 100 people in my community, and I fed 400 people because of their families and extended families, and I contributed to pension and charities, that's where your Klout happens. Your Klout happens because you're a decent human being and you contribute, not because you post on Twitter.
But those of us who do those things, Rob, we don't care about Klout, do we?
I know, exactly.
We're too busy doing good work.
So it's insane that you would consider the Klout score anything. So anybody who invested $40 million into a company like Klout is insane to begin with. Is obviously like, hey, look, I got a 94 Klout. Is egomaniac. And then to try to think that you're going to have an anonymized environment like this, like Blockboard, to be able to kind of extend that to the real life world. It's like, no, just get off your ass and go and help somebody and make it, do it because it feels good, not because your score goes up. Man. Soapbox, I'm off.
I'm with you.
Late at night. We should never do this late at night because you know, you start rambling and it's over.
But then last week we did it really early morning. We were both coming off of colds and we were hacking and coughing and anyhow. But
that was the hard edit, right? To edit out all of our coughs. That was the longest. Anyway. So those are the three stories in the funding. Dwolla closing $5 million, Series B, with some of the big players. Groupon buying Adku, and Klout acquiring Blockboard. And if somebody can explain the Klout and Blockboard deal, we'd love it. Either leave a comment wherever you found this, or send an email to untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com, or just reach out through Twitter, because I'd love to respond so my Klout score goes up.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Final story. Can you believe it? This is a great resource. You write for Street Fight, and this is a resource that they've just pushed out. And there's a reason we're telling you this, because there's a little bit of a discount for this resource. But let's talk about the resource first.
Yeah, you know, so basically Street Fight, you know, a great publication for anybody who's you know, trying to stay on top of the hyperlocal news circuit and market. You know. For those of you who listen to this show and aren't getting enough from Rob and I, you know, Street Fight is a great secondary resource, we'll say, to go to. And so they've just published their first white paper, and it's called The Local Merchant. And so if you just go to streetfightmag.com, you can see it there. And you know, I did have a chance to read through this, and it is a good resource to kind of just understand, you know, how local merchants feel. There's some case data in there from some local merchants, you know, just giving you sort of directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak, you know, what their experience is in terms of, you know, doing daily deals and working with service providers in the space, and some good data in there as well. Now, here's the kicker on this. This is a paid report available through Street Fight. It's 48 pages long. It's $349, so $350. But if you send an email to the LBMA and send it to contact@thelbma.com, that's contact@ thellbma.com, we can give you a 25% discount. So there you go. Sweet.
That's like $85 off. $87.50.
There you go.
$87.50. You can spend that elsewhere.
You could.
And you've walked through it. I mean, this thing has some pretty good finds in it, obviously, and I love the approach. Like, cost aside, I'd love to be able to charge $350 for these white papers, and the value in this is interesting because it's from the local merchant perspective, right? Which is the great part. What do they want? So if you're building services, if you're trying to engage with a local merchant community to sell them on a service or to drive revenue to them, this is one of those resources that might be of interest to you, because it's not about interviewing location-based services experts. It's about interviewing the local merchant to find out what they need.
Exactly.
And that's a good approach. I think that's a really great approach.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about Street Fight generally, and why I write for them as well, is because these guys, they work really hard to kind of give broad perspective, not just from the service providers, and they do have a lot of that too, but they've got a lot of case studies, they've got a lot of information there, just a good other general resource out there. So take a look at this report. And like I said, if you're interested in it, email us, and happy to get you a discount on that. So
that's right. contact@thelbma.com. Your 25% discount. Go and check it out at streetfightmag.com. You'll see it right there. It's big, beautiful, and it's a great resource. 48 pages, easy read, and you get $87.50 off.
Right.
That's just rough math.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll just throw out there too is if you go to the LBMA website at thelbma.com, right on the front page you'll see, in addition to this podcast, if that's where you're not viewing it from at the moment, but one of the other things that you see right on the front page is case studies, and we've just put up a new case study. It's fresh, just gone up in the last day or so. And this is a case study from one of our members, a company called Lemon out of New York. And they worked on, we talked about this a while ago on the show, but they basically worked and developed the app and the advertising campaign for the New York Marathon. That's the ING New York Marathon. And we now have that data in terms of the results of that in a case study form up on the site. So take a look at that too. I think some interesting learnings available there.
And that's free of charge.
That's free of charge.
That's right. That's not $350. It's free of charge.
Yeah. Brought to you by the LBMA.
That's exactly it.
That's it.
That's it. Episode done. So let's talk about this. We hope to see you guys out. If you're in Toronto or you're in London, there's no excuse for you not to come out to this event. Go to thelbma.com and click under the events banner, and you'll see this event. It's simulcast between Toronto and London. Los Angeles would be great, but between Toronto and London, come out and visit. Come out and talk. We'd love to hear this. This is going to be a great event. Well over maybe 250 people participating across these two locations.
Right.
Start to contribute. If you got any questions about this, bring them. I'll be there in Toronto. Asif will be there in London. Should be a good event. Should be a great time. The rule is that Asif and I can't be in the same city at the same time, or else some kind of cosmic something or other happens. Black hole. It's ugly. End of the earth. End of the world. So Asif had to fly across the Atlantic Ocean so that we could actually do this thing together.
Exactly.
So be there. Look, Asif, have a safe trip into Amsterdam and to London, and I can't wait to connect with you on Wednesday.
Absolutely, Rob. Looking forward to it as usual, and thanks for all your support, and thanks to all of our listeners and viewers, and thanks to Syzzle for their sponsorship of the show.
syzzle.me. Go and check it out. Go and sign up for the beta right now. Launched at South by Southwest. We will see you again at some odd hour. Maybe we'll try like midnight or 4 in the morning or something like that.
There you go.
Because Asif will still be in London while we're filming this next episode next week. But we'll see you next week for episode number 65. If you have a subject, a story, a company that's got funding, some good news in this industry, if you just want to heap some praise on us, we'd love to hear it. Reach out at untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma. And until next time, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you for episode number 65. See you, Asif.
Cheers.